At exactly 2:34 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time this morning, radio telescopes across 3 continents simultaneously detected something that has sent shockwaves through the global astronomical community. Not random cosmic noise, not a pulsar, not anything we've ever encountered before. A deliberate, structured transmission emanating from the interstellar object we know as 3I Atlas. And what this signal contains has triggered emergency protocols at observatories worldwide. What I'm about to reveal represents the most significant and disturbing development in the 3I Atlas situation since the object entered our solar system. Because we're no longer just observing a mysterious visitor from beyond our stars, we're receiving communications from it. And the content of these transmissions suggests intentions that no one was prepared for. My name is Michio Kaku, and in 40 years of studying astrophysics and signal analysis, I never imagined I would be the one to decode humanity's first confirmed interstellar message. A message that changes everything we thought we knew about our place in the cosmic order. The discovery that changed everything. The initial detection came from the Arecibo Observatory's replacement facility in Puerto Rico. Dr. Maria Santos, the lead radio astronomer on duty, described the moment in her official report. The signal appeared on our monitors with such clarity and power that I initially thought it was interference from a local source. But when I checked the directional data, my hands started shaking. This was coming from 3I Atlas, and it was pointed directly at Earth. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be the first human being to confirm that we're not alone in the universe? Not through discovering microbial life or analyzing distant exoplanets, but through receiving a direct communication from an intelligence that traveled across the vast emptiness between stars to reach us? Within minutes of the Puerto Rico detection, facilities in Australia, South Africa, and Chile confirmed they were receiving the same transmission. The signal wasn't a brief burst or a fleeting anomaly. It was continuous, powerful, and structured with mathematical precision that left no doubt about its artificial origin. But here's what made every scientist who saw the data realize we were dealing with something unprecedented. The signal wasn't using random frequencies or exotic wavelengths. It was broadcasting on the exact frequencies that Earth has been using for radio astronomy for the past 70 years. They knew exactly where we'd be listening. 3 impossible characteristics define this transmission. First, the signal strength required energy output exceeding anything humanity has ever produced. Second, the mathematical encoding suggested intelligence that understands physics at levels we're only beginning to explore. Third, and most disturbing, the signal contained embedded data structures that appeared to be designed specifically for human comprehension. This wasn't a message in a bottle floating through space hoping someone might find it. This was a targeted communication from an intelligence that knew we were here, knew our technological capabilities, and had something specific it wanted to tell us. The architecture of alien communication. Let me explain what made this signal so fundamentally different from anything we've ever detected. Every SETI program for the past 60 years has searched for simple, repetitive patterns, prime numbers, mathematical constants, basic geometric sequences. We assumed that any extraterrestrial intelligence would start with universal mathematical concepts that any technological civilization would recognize. But the 3I Atlas signal didn't contain simple mathematics. It contained what can only be described as a linguistic framework, a self-teaching system embedded within the transmission itself that guides human minds through progressively complex layers of meaning. Dr. Robert Chen from MIT's Department of Linguistics described his analysis. This isn't a language in any traditional sense. It's more like a cognitive virus, but beneficial. As you analyze each layer of the signal, your brain develops the capacity to understand the next layer. It's teaching us how to comprehend it as we study it. The signal operates on multiple frequencies simultaneously, creating harmonic patterns that interact in ways our telecommunications engineers never conceived. When these harmonics are processed through computer analysis, they generate visual patterns, geometric forms that seem to exist in more than 3 dimensions. But the most unsettling discovery came when researchers realized the signal was adapting in real time. As different facilities around the world analyzed the transmission using different methodologies, the signal subtly modified itself to accommodate each approach. It was learning from our attempts to understand it, optimizing itself to match human cognitive patterns. 3 research teams working independently reached the same disturbing conclusion. The signal isn't just a message, it's an active intelligence probing human consciousness itself. What the signal actually says. After 72 hours of continuous analysis involving the world's top cryptographers, linguists, and artificial intelligence systems, the first layer of the 3-eye atlas signal was decoded. What it revealed sent researchers scrambling to inform government authorities and triggered classified briefings at the highest levels of international security. The message begins with what appears to be a greeting, but not the kind of greeting we expected. It doesn't say hello or identify its creators. Instead, it opens with a statement that challenges our fundamental understanding of cosmic communication. You have been observed for 217 of your solar cycles. Your civilization has reached sufficient development for direct contact protocols. Evaluation parameters are now being transmitted. 217 years. They've been watching us since 1808. Since before the American Civil War, before the Industrial Revolution transformed human society, before we had any technology capable of detecting them. And they waited, watching our development until now. But the message doesn't stop with this revelation. It continues with information that transforms the 3-eye atlas situation from a scientific curiosity into something far more significant. The signal contains what can only be described as a comprehensive assessment of human civilization, not our technology or our scientific achievements, but our social structures, our psychology, our potential for what they call cosmic integration. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a social psychologist brought in to analyze the psychological content, described her findings with barely controlled alarm. They're not evaluating our technology, they're evaluating us. Our consciousness, our social cohesion, our ability to function as a unified species. And they're doing it with an understanding of human psychology that exceeds our own. The transmission includes detailed analyses of human behavior patterns dating back centuries. They reference specific historical events, cultural developments, and social movements with precision that suggests continuous, comprehensive monitoring. They know us better than we know ourselves. But buried within this assessment is something that explains why the signal was sent now, after 217 years of silent observation. According to the decoded content, humanity has reached what they call a critical threshold moment, the point where our technological capabilities either align with our wisdom or diverge catastrophically. The energy behind the message. The physics of the 3-eye atlas signal reveal capabilities that make our most advanced communications technology look primitive by comparison. To transmit a signal strong enough to be detected clearly across interstellar distances requires energy equivalent to our sun's total output for several seconds, focused and sustained for continuous transmission. Dr. James Morrison at Caltech's Jet Propulsion Laboratory ran the calculations and found results that violated our understanding of energy generation. The power requirements for this signal exceed anything we can produce with nuclear fusion, antimatter reactions, or any theoretical energy source we've conceived. And they're maintaining this transmission continuously with no apparent decrease in power levels. But the energy analysis revealed something even more disturbing. The signal isn't being generated by 3-eye atlas itself. Spectroscopic analysis shows that the interstellar object is functioning as a relay station, amplifying and directing a transmission that originates from somewhere far beyond our solar system. Have you ever considered that what we're seeing might not be the source of the message, but just the delivery system? That somewhere in the darkness between stars, there exists a civilization with energy manipulation capabilities that dwarf anything we've imagined? The signal's energy signature also contains embedded information about its point of origin. Triangulation data suggests the source lies approximately 847 light-years from Earth in a region of space that appears empty in all our telescopic observations. No visible stars, no detectable planetary systems, nothing but empty void, according to conventional astronomy. But 3i Atlas is proving that conventional astronomy is missing something fundamental about how advanced civilizations exist in the cosmos. They're showing us that intelligence might not be tied to visible stars or obvious planetary systems. They might inhabit spaces we consider empty simply because we lack the technology to perceive them. The companion objects activate. Remember those smaller objects that have been traveling alongside 3i Atlas since it entered our solar system? The ones that seem to orbit the main body in formations that defy gravitational mechanics? They've started responding to the signal transmission. 48 hours after the initial signal detection, observatories reported that all 17 companion objects had changed their behavior dramatically. They're no longer maintaining their previous orbital patterns. Instead, they've taken up positions that form a perfect three-dimensional geometric structure around 3i Atlas, a configuration that appears to be amplifying and focusing the signal transmission. Dr. Patricia Hayes at the European Space Agency described what their instruments detected. Each companion object is now generating its own transmission synchronized precisely with the main signal. They're creating what appears to be a phased array antenna of incomprehensible sophistication. The combined effect is directing the signal toward Earth with such precision that it's as if they've built a communications laser made of entire spacecraft. But the companion objects aren't just amplifying the signal. Analysis shows they're also transmitting additional data on separate frequencies, information that appears to be supplementary to the main message. This supplementary data is being decoded now, and preliminary results suggest it contains technical specifications, blueprints for technologies that we don't currently possess. The implications are staggering. They're not just communicating with us. They're offering us knowledge, showing us how to build technologies that might allow us to communicate back, or perhaps to prepare us for something that's coming. My colleague at Harvard, Dr. Richard Kim, made an observation that sent chills down my spine. What if the main signal is the message, but these supplementary transmissions are instructions? Instructions for how to prepare for whatever comes next. The companion objects have also begun exhibiting visual changes. Amateur astronomers with decent telescopes are reporting that the objects are now glowing with a faint blue luminescence that wasn't present before. Spectroscopic analysis of this glow reveals it contains elements that shouldn't exist according to our periodic table, matter with atomic structures that violate standard nuclear physics. We're not just receiving a message from interstellar visitors. We're watching them activate technologies that demonstrate mastery over matter and energy in ways we can barely conceptualize. The hidden layer. After the initial decoding breakthrough, researchers discovered something that changed the entire analysis of the 3i Atlas signal. The transmission isn't a single message. It's a nested hierarchy of information, each layer more complex and more disturbing than the last. The first layer contained the greeting and the basic assessment of humanity. But when researchers applied more sophisticated decoding algorithms, they discovered a second layer embedded within the carrier wave itself, hidden in subtle variations of signal timing that human analysis had initially missed. It took artificial intelligence systems specifically trained in pattern recognition to identify this hidden content. Dr. Sarah Martinez from the National Security Agency's Cryptographic Division described the discovery in a classified briefing that was later leaked. The second layer contains predictions, not vague prophecies or general statements about human potential, but specific, detailed predictions about events that will occur in the coming months and years. And based on the accuracy of their historical assessments, we have every reason to believe these predictions are based on genuine understanding of human social dynamics. I need to be clear about what this means. The signal contains foreknowledge of humanity's future, not because they can see through time, but because they understand the mathematical patterns that govern social evolution so well that they can calculate probable outcomes with terrifying precision. The predictions included in the second layer reference specific dates: January 19th, 2026, April 7th, 2026, August 23rd, 2026. Associated with each date are descriptions of events that will fundamentally alter human civilization. The details are being kept classified by international agreement, but multiple sources have confirmed that government leaders who have been briefed on this information have implemented emergency protocols in response. But the second layer contains more than predictions. It includes what researchers are calling existential questions, inquiries directed at humanity as a species that force us to confront the fundamental nature of our civilization and our worthiness for cosmic contact. One of these questions was translated as follows: do you understand that consciousness is not confined to biological structures? Are you prepared to encounter forms of intelligence that exist without physical substrate? These aren't rhetorical questions. The signal appears to be waiting for responses, actively monitoring Earth's electromagnetic spectrum for reply attempts. They're testing whether we're sophisticated enough to answer, whether we have the philosophical and technological development necessary for genuine dialogue. My granddaughter asked me what it means when someone from space asks us a question we don't know how to answer. How do you explain to a 10-year-old that humanity might be taking an exam we didn't know we were enrolled in? The psychological impact. Within a week of the signal's discovery, mental health professionals worldwide began reporting an unprecedented phenomenon. Patients with no previous knowledge of the transmission were experiencing vivid dreams and waking visions involving geometric patterns, mathematical concepts, and what they described as presence of vast intelligence. Dr. Robert Thompson, a clinical psychologist in London, documented over 200 cases in the first month alone. These individuals have no connection to each other, no exposure to the signal data, and no prior interest in astronomy or extraterrestrial phenomena. Yet they're all describing remarkably similar experiences. They report feeling observed, assessed, and in some cases instructed. The phenomenon isn't limited to a specific demographic. Children, adults, and elderly individuals across every continent are reporting these experiences. What they all share is a sense that something has changed fundamentally in human consciousness itself, that the mere presence of the 3-eye atlas signal has altered humanity's psychological baseline. Neurological studies of individuals reporting these experiences have revealed unexpected brain activity patterns. fMRI scans show activation in regions associated with spatial reasoning and abstract thinking that shouldn't be firing during rest states. EEG readings display wave patterns that resemble the mathematical structure of the 3-eye atlas signal itself. The most disturbing cases involve individuals who claim they can hear the signal directly without any technological intermediary. They describe it as a presence in their minds, a voice that doesn't use words but communicates through concepts and emotions that bypass normal language entirely. Dr. Elena Markov, a neuroscientist studying these cases, proposed a hypothesis that terrifies many researchers. What if the signal isn't just electromagnetic radiation? What if it operates on principles that allow it to interact directly with human consciousness? If that's true, every human on Earth is being exposed to its influence, whether they realize it or not. The phenomenon has triggered something that mental health professionals are calling contact anxiety, a widespread psychological condition characterized by obsessive thoughts about the signal, compulsive checking for new information, and existential dread about humanity's cosmic significance. Support groups have formed in major cities where individuals struggling with contact anxiety can discuss their fears and experiences, but these groups have become something unexpected. Many participants report that gathering with others experiencing similar phenomena creates a collective awareness effect where the experiences intensify and become more coherent. I've spoken with members of these groups, and what they describe is deeply unsettling. They claim that when they gather together, they can sense the signal more clearly, understand its meaning more fully, and perceive intentions behind the transmission that individual analysis cannot reveal. One participant told me something that still haunts my thoughts. We're not decoding the signal. It's decoding us, learning what we are, what we're capable of, what we might become, and it's changing us in the process. Government response and cover up. As the reality of the 3I Atlas signal became undeniable, governments worldwide faced an unprecedented challenge. How do you inform the public that humanity has received confirmed extraterrestrial communication without triggering mass panic or social collapse? The decision was made at the highest levels to implement what's called a graduated disclosure protocol. Release information slowly, frame it in careful language, and prepare the population psychologically for revelations that will challenge every assumption about our place in the universe. But this protocol has created tensions between scientific transparency and political control. Astronomers and researchers who want to share their findings openly are being pressured by government agencies to limit what they reveal. Classified briefings are held daily, where political leaders hear information that the public will not receive for months or years. Dr. James Wilson, a radio astronomer who participated in early signal analysis, resigned from his position in protest. He described the situation in a leaked email. We've made the most significant discovery in human history, and politicians are treating it like a national security secret. The signal was sent to all of humanity, not to governments. Every person on Earth has a right to know what's being communicated to our species. Several countries have taken different approaches to disclosure. While most Western governments maintain strict information control, smaller nations with less bureaucratic infrastructure have been more transparent. Iceland released its complete signal analysis to the public. New Zealand held open forums where researchers presented findings without political filtering. The result has been a fragmented information landscape where some populations know significantly more about the 3I Atlas signal than others. This disparity is creating international tensions and accusations of knowledge hoarding. But perhaps most disturbing are reports of what's being discussed in those classified briefings. Multiple leaks suggest that governments are receiving additional communications beyond what has been publicly disclosed. Secret channels have apparently been established where more detailed, more disturbing information is being transmitted directly to world leaders. One leaked document references something called the transition timeline, a schedule of events that will unfold over the coming months as humanity is prepared for what the document calls full integration protocols. What this means remains unclear, but the terminology suggests something far beyond simple information exchange. Military installations worldwide have been placed on elevated alert status, not in preparation for conflict, but to ensure readiness for what classified documents refer to as paradigm shift management. The concern isn't that 3I Atlas represents a military threat, but that public reaction to ongoing revelations might create social instability requiring intervention. Underground bunkers built during the Cold War are being reactivated and stocked with supplies. Emergency governance protocols are being updated. Continuity of government plans are being revised to account for scenarios that previous planners never contemplated. The message is clear, even if the specific details remain classified. World leaders are preparing for something significant, something that will change human civilization in ways that require preparation at the highest levels of authority.